Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Okay. Hello, Bev. Nice to see you. Hi, David. Good morning. Nancy, welcome. Glad to see everybody here today for our live stream on energy givers and energy drainers in your life. Hi, Carolyn. So great to be connected with you all this late morning where I am, mid-morning, wherever you are in the world. We've got people joining from different parts of the US and other countries. So I'm joining you from Mexico. There is quite a bit of construction noise. I think that only I can hear it. That's what I'm hoping and thinking. So yeah, if you hear it, you can relax and release as I am doing with it. Yeah, but hopefully I'm the only one that can hear it. Hi, Allie. Great. From Canada. Nancy can't. Allie can barely. Yeah, it's very interesting, if we think about sort of law of attraction stuff. Living in Bali is just under construction. I mean, that's just the way it is. And so when you're looking for a place to live in Bali, it's very important that you go and see the place in person, look around to see if there's any construction, because usually there will be, or always asking, is there any construction nearby? So I was always very mindful of that and not choosing anywhere with construction. And then guess what? I'm here and I've lived in this place, I can't believe it, coming up on a year now, which is crazy for me personally. And when I moved here, it was just very quiet. And then maybe 3 months ago, 2 construction jobs started at the same time, different properties, one right behind this window and one over there right by my bedroom. It's just like, okay, universe, here we are. I get to, I had so much energy around resisting being around construction. And here I have manifested it, so it is what it is, and I just get to be with it. So I know we've all got those sorts of things in our lives, and it's all an opportunity for our growth. As Michael Singer, one of my favorite spiritual teachers, says, you don't need to go to a cave in the Himalayas to have a spiritual retreat or experience. Our life is the spiritual retreat, and the construction noise is my spiritual retreat. So, and it even ties in for our topic today, energy givers versus energy drainers. I could choose to interface with the construction that I'm totally powerless over by having resistance, arguing in my head, arguing with reality about it. And that's going to drain my energy. Or I can use it to awaken. I can use it to relax and release. It also reminds me, I think it was Thich Nhat Hanh told a story once about a spiritual retreat in the US, or maybe I'm getting monks mixed up, but it was something, they were at the retreat, they were meditating, there was noise or there was helicopters around, And people were complaining. And so then he took the retreat participants to the side of a freeway and had them meditate on the side of the highway. So it's like we get to embrace what surrounds us. So yeah, I'm glad everybody's here. If you're new here, please say hello. Already know many of you, and thanks for joining and saying hi. I love this topic that we're going to be diving into. And yeah, we'll get started in just a minute. I'm Natalie. If you are new, I'm a spiritual life coach, Reiki master teacher. You can follow me here. There will be a pop-up on the screen on Insight Timer. You can also catch these live streams on my YouTube channel and follow me there, and the replays are all there. You could also follow me on Facebook and Instagram and check my website, and you can find all of that here in my profile. So, yeah, I just really want to welcome everybody today. Let's join in this beautiful sacred space together by taking a few grounded breaths in and out. And just arriving here and now together. When you breathe in, you can breathe in energy, expansion, presence. And when you breathe out, you can let go of anything that's draining you. If it's, something your mind is latched onto right now, that's a worry or concern, that's past or future. Or even if there's something right now in this present moment. So you can release, even here and now, the things that might be draining you, draining your attention, your focus, your presence, so that we can be here together today and soak up this beautiful collective energy as well as the teaching for today. So, we all have things that fuel us or drain us in regards to our life and our energy. So we're going to be looking at today just becoming aware of the patterns of where that is happening. And having that awareness then gives us the power of choice. So we can choose more of what gives us energy, clarity, power, and choose to release the things that drain us in whatever ways that is. So, I'd like for everybody just to share an emoji in the chat, in the comments, or one word of just the energy that you're bringing into the session right now, like a temperature check, like an energy check. How are you feeling? Just so that you can speak your presence into this space together. If we were live, I would have everybody speak their name into the room or speak their voice into the room. So we can do that with the chat. Christina, welcome. Feeling tired. David, fair, and Bev, a slow day. Yeah, just appreciate the authenticity. And can it just be whatever is here, whatever is alive in you? Can it just be allowed to be without judgment, without right or wrong or resistance or clinging. Great, Carolyn, feeling peaceful. So I want to share an example of energy givers and drainers and how that can look tangibly and specifically. Allie feeling a bit of overwhelm, desire to slow down and go within. Makes sense. Yeah, if there's an overwhelmed sensation, feeling like wanting to slow down, ground, wonderful. So I have, and I don't know if I said, I'm Natalie, spiritual life coach and Reiki master teacher, if you don't know me. So I have a coaching client I've worked with for a number of years now. And they had hired somebody to help them with their physical stamina and their physical body. And this was about 2 years ago. And it was a great step for them. It was outside their comfort zone. It was them practicing self-care and investing in themselves and their physical health. And they got value from, working with this person on their physical body. And then after, some time had passed, my client occasionally would talk about issues with this trainer that they had. In that, they would kind of talk a lot about their personal life. They had a lot of problems. They would kind of vent and complain in the session. And it was stressful for my client to, receive that and be in that experience. And there was resentment there after a while, which makes sense. And so, there was many, many months, if not a year, of back and forth on, did she still want to continue with this, working with this person? And, she didn't let it go. Even though it was causing stress, resentment, it was kind of interfering a bit with the sessions and the focus at times. And finally, when she was ready, interestingly, Allie, this person is from Canada, but not near you. So, they had to go through what they had to go through with this process. Just because me as the coach could kind of see objectively inside of the situation and see what wasn't working and see the dynamics, which is, that's part of the value of having a coach, is that objective view. Everybody has to go through their own process. And so very recently now, this client finally did let go of this trainer. And because and why I'm saying this is, if you can't tell, this person and this dynamic was an energy drainer for them. And what was so cool also was the way that she ended the relationship was very clean, clear, boundaried. How many of you have had a dynamic like this? And, what I see a lot of times is people will over-explain and over-justify and kind of fall all over themselves to try and make the other person feel better or soften the blow, if, as it were. And this, my client didn't do that. They just were direct, honest, didn't overshare, didn't just said, it's best for me to move on right now. And, thank you. And I'm going to do some other things now or whatever. And the word that my client used that made me think of, energy givers and energy drainers is, now that this connection is finished, she used the word clean. She feels clean, and it felt like a clean separation. So this is, the work that I do in supporting my clients and things like this. It's not easy, especially if we have codependent tendencies. We hang on to connections even though they're draining us. How many of you can relate to any of the dynamics in my story? I know I can. And yet on the other side of it, she had to push through. She had to do something uncomfortable. She went outside her comfort zone, and it took what it took. It wasn't like at the first sign of resentment or issues that she let it go, and that's okay. She had her own journey. And now she's become the person in, the time of that relationship and connection and all the work that she's doing and done on herself, that she became the version of herself that was able to say, I'm stepping back from this. And I even told her, I was like, look, it doesn't mean it has to be forever. It might be forever, but it might not. Like, you can always hire her again, right? So that can also help kind of soften the blow of, I'm letting go of a connection, as far as in this specific dynamic of like hiring somebody. So, this whole process expanded her. She had to use different emotional, mental, spiritual muscles to actually end the connection and be on the other side. And yeah, so it's really powerful. Hi, Maggie, welcome. So some of you can relate. So what I like about that example is it wasn't black and white. It wasn't like the minute that she's like, oh, this isn't really working, that she ended it. Like, and that may happen for some of you, or it may be a journey and a process. So as I said, like, this is some of the more powerful work that I do with my clients, is looking at where are you leaking energy and redirecting it, reclaiming it to where it really matters for you or for the people I work with. So what we're going to look at now is do a bit of an energy audit. So you can do this however you choose. If you want to type it into a digital device, if you want to write it on paper, if you just want to think about it in your mind, totally up to you. So first we want to look at, what are the things that give you energy right now? What are the things that give you energy? So this could be people. It could be habits. It could be spaces or places. It could be activities. So of all of those things, what gives you energy right now? And you can share in the chat as well. Share one or more. And we'll just slow down with this just for a few minutes so that you can reflect on that and write it down if it's helpful. I do this exercise sometimes with my clients, where I actually have them put it on a paper and put a line down the middle. One side energy givers, one side energy drainers. And we're not to the drainers yet, but we'll start with the givers. So what people give you energy, what habits, what spaces or places, what activities give you energy. Your clay class, that's a great example, Carolyn. So if anybody has creative pursuits, artistic pursuits, those definitely can be very nourishing. Hi, Allison. Yeah, totally. You know, we can't change anyone else. So if there are people that are draining, like I mentioned in the example, you know, we can't expect them to change. So we can either, you know, work with ourselves to shift ourselves to be able to stay in the dynamic if that feels nourishing, or we can step away. Great that you're learning your grounding, worth, and self-trust in those decisions. So Nancy, feeling like activities or habits, or I like that example, Nancy, because it sounds like a habit of completing things, feeling a sense of energy. Totally. Bev feels like energy givers are close family, crafting and friends. Totally. Christina, writing in nature. Maggie, painting. So lots of beautiful, like, creative energies. When sharing with others, being kind and loving to others and self. Yeah. So just kind of even feel into how it feels in the body as you're writing this, as you're reflecting on this, of looking for the energy givers in your life. And just feel that. Tune into the body energetically. I know for me, like, my morning routine gives me energy. I love my morning routine. I wake up around 6:30. I do my best to kind of orient immediately into appreciation for what I have. Then I do Wim Hof breathing. Then I do meditation. Then I take my cold shower. Then I make my smoothie. Then, depending on the day, I may do, you know, my at-home workout, or go to the gym, have my coffee at my favorite cafe, walk on the lake to get there to the plaza in the beautiful town in Mexico that I live in. It's all very giving for my energy. So now let's look at the other side of the coin. So what drains your energy? What leaves you tired? What leaves you depleted? What leaves you disconnected? What leaves you drained? So again, it could be people, habits, spaces or places, activities. And I didn't mention this for the givers, but it could be on both, givers and drainers, like thoughts, thought patterns, mindsets, belief systems, paradigms, programs. So again, write this down if you're recording it, you know, on digitally or on paper, or just, you know, consider it for yourself. What things drain your energy? What leaves you tired, depleted, disconnected, drained? And then feel free again to share one or more in the chat of the things that drain your energy. Bev says needy people, liars, and noise. Yeah. Well, that brings to mind the construction around here for me, which again, as I said in the beginning of like, I can work with myself to not allow it to drain my energy. And it's simple, not always easy. So yeah, needy people, draining you. Totally get that. Hi, Marie. Excessively complaining people, totally. For sure, Carolyn, anxiety attacks. Can anyone else relate to that? That's very draining. Arguing, fears. So I'd say, you know, we all have fear and fears. So there probably would be a line of like when the fear starts draining energy, right? Or even anxiety or anything, unpleasant emotions. You know, I feel like if a fear comes up, but we're present with it, we work with it, we can not allow it to get bigger and go into being a drainer. Great thought, Nancy. When you have too many things to figure out and not sure where to find the answers, and then having to go out of your comfort zone. Totally. To me, as I'm reading that, what I'm picking up on is, again, it's like kind of the energetic or mental stance or mindset in which I interface with. What I'm hearing is like uncertainty and overwhelm. Too many things to figure out can feel overwhelming. Not sure where to find the answers. Can feel like indecision, doubt, uncertainty. So again, just like with the fears, it's like these things can exist, but there's like a shift, or there's a moment where it goes into being a drainer. And so I know everybody here, with your level of awareness, you have the awareness to be in the noticing, so that it doesn't shift into a full-fledged drainer. And if it does, that's the journey, and it's okay. Hi, Melanie. Repeatedly avoidant people. Totally. So that's a great one. So avoidant people, repeatedly avoidant, or whatever that is for everyone here. It could be different situations of like allowing that to drain my energy. Again, there's like a theme emerging versus, is there a way that I can use this when that avoidant person comes up and triggers a response in me? Can I work with myself and my energy to not allow it to drain me? Sometimes that can be like advanced level practice to where it feels like I just have to get rid of this person rather than try and deal with the draining dynamic. Sometimes it might be, oh, this person is allowing me to practice, and I cannot get lost in it. I cannot get totally overwhelmed and drained. Totally, Maggie. That's kind of what I'm saying. The things that are drainers are a mirror to see what's still true in you. I love that. Yeah, totally makes sense. Hey, J.E. Yeah, totally get the state of the world feeling like a drainer. Makes total sense. I like that, Maggie, talking with God on a walk. Melanie, again, coming back to looking at myself, focusing on me. And again, I have an avoidant person sort of in and out of my life. And if I'm really honest, I think it's a little advanced level earth school for me with that dynamic of, I think what's best is that person is not in my life, because the energy and the trigger and the pattern and the avoidance and the attachment and all that stuff, I feel like it's kind of advanced level that I'm not there yet as far as able to not let it be a drainer. Maggie's had to walk away sometimes, Melanie as well. So I'm wondering if you think about the givers, the drainers, if there was something that you could shift from the drainer list this week, what would it be? Is there one thing you could let go of from the drainers? Share it in the chat. What is one thing from your drainers list you could let go of? Or you'd be willing to experiment with letting go of? It could be like a person, like we're sort of talking about. It could be a mindset, a habit. It might even be like if you look at the news too much, or certain websites or content or things that are drainers. Maybe it's letting go of that. So every energy drainer has a cost. And clarity, joy, health, and creativity, or creativity. Hey, Marielle. Wonderful. Glad to have you. Glad you were able to jump in on your lunch break. Wonderful. Christina, having to move and looking for housing. Yeah, especially if there's a urgency, like if it has to happen. Yeah, I've told the story before of me living where I'm living right now. I won't go into the whole story, but there was definitely urgency with it, and that urgency and housing, like housing is such a base level of survival, like it's a basic need. So it hits on that deep survival stuff, which then gets us into fear and drains us, right? So that's a challenging one. So I wonder what it would look like to have that situation be 5% less draining. Carolyn, being more accepting of yourself. So the lack of self-acceptance or the self-judgment could be a thing to let go of and off of the drainer list. And the flip side of it would be, the energy giver part would be the self-acceptance, 5% more self-acceptance. Bev, sounds like a challenging situation, a new contact who needs you. And so you said you're putting up barriers for yourself. Do you mean like boundaries, like healthy boundaries? And great. I just got an email from my coach this morning because the way, like, my, I guess, coaching philosophy is being of service first and foremost. And sometimes that means people will become paying clients, and sometimes that means I was of service and, that's what occurred, and they didn't become a client, and that's fine because I was able to be of service, right? The email was saying, like, sometimes being of service is saying no or not serving everybody that asks, right? So that's really an important distinction, Bev. We can't give from an empty cup. We give from our overflow. That's my favorite definition of abundance. Giving from my overflow. I'm so full, I'm giving. Not giving from depletion, giving from an empty cup. That's draining, right? That's an energy drainer. And an energy giver is giving from my overflow. Marie, trying to figure out not dropping a person, but how to deal with them. Yeah, those are the kinds of things I support my coaching clients with, because there can be so many different dynamics at play in those situations. So Christina, been searching for a few months and a housing shortage. Totally get that being draining. Carolyn, feeling less anxious. So remember, every drainer has a cost. What are these drainers costing you? Maybe clarity, joy, peace, presence, health, creativity. It might be draining creativity. So letting go of drainers isn't a loss. Because when you let go of those things, you gain something. You gain more peace, more power. Like the example I gave about my client earlier. She just used that word clean. She felt clean. So when we're not draining our energy, then, we have this energy back and it can feel really clean. So if you are called to create big things in your life, you really get to think about these, the cost of these energy drainers. You can't afford to keep pouring your energy into what drains you. Protecting and guarding and I'm trying to think of the right word. Being discerning about where you give your energy is self-leadership. Awesome, Marie, giving from your overflow. Glad that's helpful. Yeah, JE relating to the housing. Carolyn, feeling like you are your biggest drainer. I mean, I think that's really powerful to notice. And the awareness of that is really valuable to have. Recognizing that you are the one kind of doing this to yourself, and not from a place of judgment, just a noticing and an awareness. And then from that, learning to trust yourself, love yourself. And I think honestly, for all of us at the root, we're all our biggest drainer, because it's all coming from us. Oh, great, Bev. Yeah, Allison, your feeling of relief, feeling of a weight off your shoulders when you let go of somebody, reminds me of the client story I told earlier. Yeah, because they were with this trainer for like 2 years, but really it was in the first 6 months or first year that she started, talking about how the person was draining, but it took as long as it took for her to be able to let go. Yeah, Carolyn helps you to set yourself free. Hi, Dee. Welcome. Yes, so if anybody missed it earlier and is joining in a little bit later, all of my live streams are as replays on my YouTube channel. This is actually double live streamed there and here. So you can find all my info in my profile here. Follow me, Facebook, Insta, all that good stuff. Check my website. And if anybody feels like they want support around, releasing energy drainers, doing the deep work, like I said, really it's all within us that where these dynamics are occurring, right? So doing that deep soul level work is what my favorite thing to do is with my one-on-one coaching clients. Doing the deep inner work and doing the outer work of, creating what you want in your life. It's such a powerful and transformative journey and process. So if you feel you're ready for that and you want support, feel free to reach out. Happy to have a conversation about that, what's possible for you, where you're stuck. If anybody feels stuck with this, send me a message. Wonderful, Marie, feeling energized. Yeah, it's nataliemspeakman.com. And it's in my, all my links are here in my Insight Timer teacher profile. So if you feel something stirring within you, follow that call to reach out. Thank you, Carolyn. You are also amazing. You're welcome, Dee. Thank you, Bev. Marie, welcome. Thank you for joining and for your words. So we're going to do a short visualization as we begin to coming to the end of the session. And before we do that, I'm curious what insights are coming up for you, what ahas, what breakthroughs are you experiencing, what insights are you having as a result of this, or what clarity? Is there something you're seeing that you didn't see before, where you think it's time, I'm going to let go of this, or I'm going to add this? Ooh, beautiful, Carolyn. I feel like having a choice or grounding into that idea, having clarity, like, wow, this is a choice, is probably the most powerful insight somebody could have. One of my favorite talks by one of my favorite coaches, Steve Chandler, is called The Owner-Victim Choice. And Carolyn, I don't know if I've shared it with you. I will send that to you. And if anybody else wants to hear it, it's a very powerful talk on this distinction. And this coach, Steve Chandler, talks about the owner-victim choice is the most powerful choice you could ever make. Wonderful, Bev. So, let's just do a short few minutes visualization to kind of bring this all together and ground it into our bodies and our experience. So I invite everybody just to close their eyes briefly. Take a couple breaths in, feel the body, the heaviness of the body on the surface that you're on. And bring to mind one energy drainer that came up during this session today, like the one that had the most energy for you. And just imagine that as if it's a heavy object that you're holding in your hands in front of you. And this is a symbol. So just choose and follow your intuition on which energy drainer felt the heaviest, and imagine it that you're holding it in your hands. It might be a rock, it might be a chain. I mean, it could be anything. So allow your mind to just show you what that is and feel the weight, feel the heaviness of that energy drainer. And feel the cost of holding that and gripping that drainer. And then on your next exhale, just imagine releasing it. And imagine it dissolves and just gets absorbed into the earth to be blessed and transformed. Just let it go, feel it move out of your hands, surrender, allow, release it. And release it into the earth, where Mother Earth energy will bless it and transform it. And just let it go. And then just notice the lightness in your hands. With your next inhale now, draw in light from above. From source, universe, whatever that is for you. And just feel that expansion, that nourishment. And just feel how it feels in your body. And when you're ready, you can gently come back to open eyes. So what new possibility opens up when you stop giving attention to and feeding the energy drainers and shift your focus and attention and giving more space to the energy givers? What new possibility opens up for you? You can share one word in the chat or an emoji. Hi, Patty. So the talk is by Steve Chandler. one of my favorite life coaches, and it's called the Owner-Victim Choice. And I can share it with anybody if you want to send me a private message here or in any way that you want to connect with me. Wonderful, Bev, feeling a sense of relief. Having more room for energy givers. Nancy feeling lighter. So just breathe that in. So again, for the next week, until we are live together again, however you want to anchor that in for yourself. What is one thing? It doesn't have to be the most heavy, difficult drainer, but maybe one that feels easiest to shift. But what is one drainer you're ready to let go of this week or practice letting go of? So this is a very powerful beginning of transformation for you. First, having the awareness, noticing we're using this very powerful distinction. Now you can release, you can choose differently. And it can be over and over again. It can be micro, releases of drainers, micro adding in energy givers. 2 people for Bev. Wonderful. Great, Marie. Yeah, love and compassion. It's always about that, isn't it? So I want to thank everybody for showing up. And remember, every time you protect your energy, you reclaim your power. Yeah, that's a great question, J.E. So it sounds like in your question is the answer. The structural drainers that you don't have to, but you get to learn to live with. So like me with the construction, there is nothing I can do about that aside from move. Right? So, and that's like a small scale thing, and it is something I have no control over. So then it becomes, how do I release my inner stance? How do I shift my inner stance of arguing with reality, resisting, not liking, not wanting, all of that? How can I release those mindsets that are draining my energy? Like, I don't know if you were here earlier in the talk, but I talked about how Michael Singer says, we don't go to the Himalayas for the spiritual retreat. Life is the spiritual retreat. And whatever's in our field is, what we have to work with. So that's a great question. So if this session resonated with you and you feel called to go deeper and you are ready to get unstuck from these, maybe mental patterns and habits, or it might be specific relationships or drainers, send me a private message, and I'm happy to have a gifted conversation with anybody that's ready to make a change in this and take action and really transform and shift so that you can feel that freedom and release and create the results that you want, both internally inside of yourself in that deep inner work, as well as creating the things outside of you that you want. So you can send me a message here and anywhere that I am. If you feel called to give a donation, if this session was helpful, here is the donation button. Don't forget to give me a follow as well. I put that up earlier. I think there's a follow button in the screen. So I will be going live this Sunday morning in the Western Hemisphere, 10:15 a.m. Eastern, for our weekly spiritual guidance with cards, Reiki, and ancestral clearing. And then next Tuesday evening in the Western Hemisphere, 9 p.m. Eastern, we will be doing a deep dive into raising your standards and claiming your power. So make sure to RSVP to those events. So here is the live stream next Tuesday. Wonderful, Nancy. Glad that was helpful. Thank you, Bev. Sending you lots of love. Thank you, JE, for joining. I will see you all very soon. Much love and namaste.